These psycho roommates made me crash the out. My roommate sent me a condescending checklist and then lost her mind when I stood up for myself. I love that this says trigger warning, entitlement. I am very triggered by entitlement. Thank you for the warning. I, female 22, live with a roommate, female 27, who frankly barely cleans. I'm the one who's constantly wiping counters, taking out the trash, doing dishes, cleaning up after her dog when she doesn't, all while working full time and trying to keep the peace. I don't nitpick. I don't complain every time I clean something up. I just try to do my part and sometimes hers so the place stays livable. I've always had this mentality too. I had a bunch of roommate situations. I lived with roommates for a very, very long time. I left my home like with my parents at a young age. And I always just felt like, and listen, not everybody feels this way, but I would rather the home be clean and everybody do their part and everybody feel good about doing their part because everyone else is doing their part than to have like a checklist and like, you know, one person does this, one person does that. To me, it's a better living situation for everyone if everyone just pitches in whenever they can. I feel like you should have the mentality that when you are sharing a space with someone else, and this crosses over to like relationships and when you're living with your significant other, what the f was I saying? Everybody pitches in and everybody maintains the place and keeps it clean. You should want to keep your space clean for other people. You should not want to disadvantage or inconvenience people by leaving a mess. And they should feel the same toward you. So the one time my roommate finally decides to clean, and by clean, I mean wipe the stove and toss out some trash, she texts me this long message while I'm at work. Oh, interesting. Okay, so the one time she does clean, now she's like, well, I clean for you.
I said, give me compliments.
Not to have a conversation, but to give me a passive-aggressive list of reminders about wiping the stove after I use it, putting my drinks away, emptying the dishwasher before she needs it, and sticking to some decor-only counter rule that she mentioned once forever ago, like it was a binding contract. It's interesting that she did not clock all of the things that you did and is now holding it against you when you didn't do it one time and she had to do it. You know what I would do in this situation because I'm petty? If she's not aware of how much work you put in, I would literally just stop putting in the work so she sees exactly how much you're doing. What's gonna happen when you leave? The place is gonna fall apart.
Please don't tell anyone how I live.
She even made a weird point to say she cleaned out the quote oil and asparagus in the trash, like that was some noble act that needed public acknowledgement. This is why I don't like bringing problems, because a lot of the time people just sort of react defensively and they're like, well, you didn't do that. And more often than not, it's kind of just like projection, right? The message was condescending and honestly caught me off guard. I told her I got the message, and while I understood being overwhelmed, the delivery was unnecessary. I reminded her that I have been pulling my weight and cleaning up after her and her dogs more than she probably realizes. I said if we're gonna start keeping tabs, I'll stop cleaning up her messes too. I also said her burnout isn't mine to carry, that we both live here and that I shouldn't have to walk on eggshells or be guilt tripped just because I'm in the same space. She came back defensive, accusing me of overreacting, saying she was just asking me to pick up after myself. I mean, if the shoe fits, maybe you should do that too, Bessie. Then we ended up fighting in person where she kept gaslighting me, telling me I was delusional and twisting everything I said. I snapped at her and called her a bitch. Not proud of it, that crossed the line and I owned it. I sent her a respectful apology for the name calling and I told her I shouldn't have said that, but I stood by the boundary I was setting. I let her know that I wasn't gonna keep going in circles and that all I wanted was for us to live respectfully and decently, nothing more. Her response? You f***ed up real bad. You're gonna wanna bite your tongue next time, girl. You extremely crossed the line beyond my boundaries. Keep your apology and stick it up your butt. Delusional B word. Don't stop going to therapy either. Whoa, 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 whoa. Absolutely not. So that's where we are now. I guess I struck a nerve. You absolutely struck a nerve. There's also a downfall to like doing the most for other people. Number one, they don't appreciate it or don't even realize that you're doing it. And number two, they might resent you for it. I've been trying to be the adult, do my share, and not make everything a thing. But the one time I speak up and set a boundary, I'm suddenly the problem. She acts like I'm a monster for reacting to her disrespect when all I've been doing is trying to live peacefully in a space we both pay for. I'm tired of walking on eggshells around around people who can dish it but lose their mind when it's handed back to them. I'm not perfect, but I've been fair. I've tried, and now I'm just done. Thanks for letting me get that out. Oh, you're welcome. And how long do you have left on the lease? Okay, so people are kind of saying in the comments, you should probably find a new place to live. OOP says her lease ends soon, and she already has her next apartment in mind. Good. She threatened to end the lease now, but I can't afford it, and I'm not sure if she can either. Another person responds, that's why you're already planning to part ways. She can't deal with mild abandonment issues, so she picked a fight and dug in as hard as she could. It's hard to know the psychology behind some of these outbursts when you're sharing a space with other people. Maybe she just wanted to make you feel like you were the problem. Who knows?
Maybe she's just a raging.
So we do have an update. A couple of days after the fight with my roommate, where she disrespected me after I apologized, yeah, she totally did. You apologized for using that language, and then she responded to your apology by using the same language you used. In a more like kind of disrespectful and threatening manner, I may add. Not demure, not mindful. I slowly started moving stuff back into my room. One of those things was my Snapware Pyrex set from Costco. I had originally let her use it, but it's mine, and I always intended to take it with me when I moved out. Ooh, she's getting petty. I love it. Anyways, I found one of them in the fridge with some soggy chicken that had clearly been sitting there for days. It looked gross, so I tossed it. When she got home and realized I threw away her food, she got super mad and started loudly talking crap about me on the phone to whoever she was talking to. I ignored it and just went to bed. The next morning while I was showering and getting ready, she starts yelling at me, asking where the trash bags are. I asked which ones, because I thought I had bought the last pack, and there's no way we had finished them. She starts gaslighting me, saying they were hers from the shop. Whatever that means. Jeez. I was too tired for drama, so I just gave her the trash bags and I told her not to use my stuff anymore. She flipped and said I was unbearable to live with and that I should just leave, and she wanted me gone. Or you could leave. So I said, fine, you know what? I'll leave. Later that day, I went to the leasing office to explain the situation. They gave us 3 options. 1, we both transfer to separate units. 2, we break the lease early. 3, I drop my name from the lease, pay a fee, and she shows proof, pay stubs, that she can afford the rent on her own. Later that night, she texted me asking, do you want to leave or do you want me to? I said, I'll leave. I told the leasing office and asked them to follow up with her for the pay stub so we could move forward. That same day, I went to tour an apartment I'd been eyeing. It was the exact unit I wanted and I applied immediately. Fast forward to today and I got approved. I'm moving in tomorrow. Yay! But here's where it gets messy again. Let me guess, she didn't realize the consequences of you moving out? Typical. A few days ago, I asked the leasing office if they'd received her pay stubs. They said no. Shocking, coming from someone who's very disorganized and messy. Even though they'd asked her 3 times, she kept saying she'd email them. She never did. So today I texted her again, letting her know I'm moving out and the leasing office still needs her pay stubs. She responds, I can't. I asked, what do you mean you can't? She says she can't send them or she can't afford it, which she never expressed that she couldn't afford it. Okay, then why you be acting like this, bestie? This is a whole lot of entitlement for someone who can't even afford a place on her own. The basic standard for living with people is to, number 1, not make the situation stressful for others, and number 2, pick up after yourself. You're not gonna find a roommate, or if you did, they'd also be a slob and you'd be living in a pigsty. You're not gonna find a roommate that's okay with these kinds of living conditions. I honestly still don't know what she meant. I reminded her that this was the option she agreed to, and if she wanted to stay, this is what needed to happen. I told her again, I'm moving out. If you wanna stay here, that's on you. Then she says, let's just break the lease then. I told her again, I can't afford that, which is why we agreed I'd just leave and she'd stay. She responds, I don't care about ruining my credit. Okay, you might not care, but other people might. I left her undelivered after that. Then 30 minutes later, she goes, I guess I'll have to leave too then. Okay. It's interesting that she's like asking you for help and for you to change the plan after being such a jerk to you. You don't have the bargaining chips right now, bestie. The ball is not in your court. I honestly don't know if she's just being petty, playing games, or genuinely doesn't understand the situation. I mean, I wouldn't put it past her. She doesn't seem like the brightest crayon in the box.
Burn.
Tomorrow, I'm going back to the leasing office to sort it all out once and for all. I feel stuck and frustrated, but I'm also so ready to get out of this toxic situation. Honestly, it doesn't really seem like your problem anymore, bestie. I feel like I've told this story before, but I had a roommate once that like refused to do dishes. And then one time I just like stopped doing them because I'm like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Like I'm clearly the only person doing it. And then so it got so out of control, like the dishes were overflowing and smelly. I actually heard her once. She came in the door and blamed me. She was talking to another person. She was blaming me for not doing the dishes. And I was like, Wow, okay. We were actually best friends before this, and like I barely talk to her now. Haven't spoken to her in like 10 years. So yeah, she blamed me for her pileup of dirty dishes, and then when it came time for her to actually do the dishes, instead of doing them, she just threw them out.
Who does that?
If you were ever confused about who the lazy person in that scenario was, there's your answer. Am I the a-hole for ending a friendship after my roommate licked my food? I, 26 female, have been living with 2 roommates, Natalie, 24 female, and Heather, 24 female, for over 3 years now. In October of 2024, Natalie and I had an argument over small things I'd done months before, like leaving my clothes in the dryer too long, cleaning up later in the day after baking, or telling Heather that a joke she made hurt Natalie's feelings. She was really angry, and I apologized profusely, saying I'd work on everything. She is one to hold grudges. She does it with everyone and explodes months later. She can be condescending and often stoops to name calling or making things personal. I love my friends and I hate hurting them in any way. I wanted to work to be better and I thought she did too. Fast forward to November. She got mad at me again. This time for leaving the stove on while finishing up making pancakes for the house. She told me, "You can't keep making mistakes like this." I finally snapped. "You know what? Just enjoy the pancakes." And I sat down. She stormed off. So wait, you did her a favor and you did something nice by making her breakfast, and instead of thanking you, she fixated on what you did wrong?
What is your logic?
No, this whole like getting mad at people and expecting apologies thing is her way of controlling. I'm one for apologizing. It keeps the peace, it's whatever. It's supposed to make things easier for everyone, and oftentimes when both people apologize for how they could have handled a situation better, your friendship ends up in a better spot. But I do know people who get mad for very irrational reasons, almost like as if they want me to be the villain and they've already had this preconceived notion of me being not a good friend. They just get mad over little things that are miscommunications, and then when I try to like talk to them about it and explain that no, that's not what I mean at all, I want to like work this out, they refuse to communicate. It's a control thing. I guarantee you it's a control thing. I went to talk to her later, saying we both needed to speak to each other with more respect. Her response threw me a bit. Well, now my plan for revenge feels kind of dumb. "I beg your finest pardon?" I asked what she meant, thinking, hoping it was a joke, and she casually admitted she'd been trying to figure out something she could put on my pancakes to make me sick. Oh, that's kind of illegal. She remembered my allergy, latex. But when that wasn't an option, she tried to think of something in the house that could make me ill. Medication, poison, specifically mentioning arsenic. Oh, hell no, you live with a whole murderer. Then she brushed it off with, "It's fine, I wasn't actually going to do it. I just wanted to fantasize a little, I guess." Hey man, that's messed up. I'd be scared for my life. I told my other roommate, obviously. I told my therapist. I told my dad. More than anything, I was scared. My friend, the person I live with, enjoyed fantasizing about harming me when I got a little snappy. For months, I was paranoid about communal food. I didn't eat leftovers. I tiptoed around the house because even if she was joking, what if next time she actually did something? I tried to move past it, but I never felt like I really could. Yeah, I feel like her mentioning that was her way of scaring you into submission. And like, guess what? It worked. It's a control thing. She wanted to control you to do whatever she wanted. This week, I got a notification that Natalie sent a message in our roommate group chat, but she unsent it. I was in my room and she came in with some urgency asking me to borrow my laptop for something school related. I said yes, but something felt off. Natalie used my laptop and rushed off to a friend's. After she left, I asked Heather what the message was, or if she'd seen it too, and she said she wasn't sure either. We both asked Natalie in the group chat. She tried to lie, but eventually she admitted, "Oh, I meant to text Heather, but I guess I should just come clean now." She confessed that she meant to text Heather privately, but accidentally messaged our group chat, but that she needed to come clean. She licked the leftover pancakes that Heather ate. Ew, that is so immature. Jail. She had run into my room and used my laptop to delete the text. I have an older Mac and she unsent the message. She went through my messages, found it, and erased it. I was already spiraling. Then Heather told me the truth. Her admitting to messing with our food was a cover story, true, but a cover. Because what really happened, what Heather knew and couldn't keep from me, was that Natalie had read my journal. Oh. For context, I'm 26. My journal isn't a daily diary with playground crushes and that mom made meatloaf again. It holds holds 2 years of my deepest thoughts. Entries about my family, my relationships, my self-image, and entries processing trauma. I used it before and after therapy sessions. Things I never wanted anyone to see, hence the journal-like nature of the journal. I had a full breakdown at this point. The next morning, I told Natalie we couldn't be friends anymore. I'm moving states for work in a few months, so we'll just be roommates until then. Because the truth of it was, I had trusted and cared for her, and she messed with my shared food, invaded my privacy, and broke my sense of security. She took my computer and lied about why, and read my journal. She just said, yeah, understandable, sorry. Well, for someone who demands apologies, that sure is a half-assed one. I told her I'd be putting a lock on my door because I need to feel like I have some control over my privacy. She agreed, saying, yeah, I would too. Honestly, I'd put cameras up. Okay. I told her I wasn't comfortable with that. It felt unfair to have cameras in a house where we all live. She said, okay, and thanked me for considering that aspect. I thought that was it. Oh, Lord. Yesterday, I found out from our mutual friends that Natalie's now telling people I put hidden tiny nanny cams around the house, including in the shared bedroom that guests use. Oh, absolutely not. No. Claiming I'm overreacting and adding in that I never even use my door lock. It's literally been a week and I work from home. She also tried to gain sympathy from Heather, who is having none of it, and apparently trying to make herself out to be the victim of the situation. Of the situation she created? The consequences of her actions? Anyway, now I don't know what to do. I don't want to start more of this, but this whole thing has messed with my head. Should I confront her again? Am I actually the one overreacting? Should I just ride this out until I move? I need advice. Anything is appreciated. I think she's broken like several laws here. This is not just like about keeping the peace. This is about your safety and your privacy. Both things you are entitled to have. I genuinely think that you should contact your landlord or even consider filing like a police report because this is hella messed up. Like I am crashing out reading this. Hence the title of this video.
No way.
She just seems so unbelievably delulu. She sounds kind of like a criminal like waiting to happen. I would be very concerned for your safety and I think that you need to escalate this. Update. Thank you all for your concern. I did reach out to my landlord who told me to file a police report, right? They stated they could do nothing until one was filed, which sucked, but it was understandable. I decided not to file one because I feared the report would make things worse. Living with someone who has a history of trying to or fantasizing about harming me when they're upset didn't seem like a good situation to report these incidents to the police in. So you'd rather live in this situation? My roommate moved out this week and is staying with her parents, but all of her things are still here. In the time since I confronted her and ended any friendship, she's been a terrible roommate. I think this is either to piss off or run off Heather and I from the house. She left trash all over the house, food on the counter for days, spilling things on the floor and not cleaning them, letting her dogs pee on things and not cleaning it, slamming doors and cabinets while the house is sleeping, etc. She left last week and it's been bliss. The house is clean, I started baking again, and I found a new apartment. That's the update. Not exciting, but an update. I mean, I do have to admit, I kind of wish that you got the police involved. Because be freaking for real, dude. This is crazy. So are you the a-hole for ending a friendship after a roommate licked your food? So are you the a-hole because you're terrified of your roommate and don't want to be friends with her anymore? No. You're good. Am I the a-hole for not telling my roommate I own the house? Brief backstory. About a year ago, my last remaining grandparent passed away and my father inherited all assets, including a house. I've been saving for a nice down payment, at least 50%, so I could have a lower mortgage payment each month, thus allowing me to save money for travel. When my father inherited this house, which he had no interest in moving into yet, he offered to sell it to me for slightly below market value, with the caveat that he and my stepmother could eventually move into the basement apartment. I agreed, because they're both incredible people who are not at all invasive and would give me my privacy if they lived there. So I paid a 60% down payment, financed the rest, and moved in. Present day. About 6 months ago, I started considering renting out the furnished basement apartment. It has 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a living room, and a small kitchenette, sink, fridge, microwave, but no oven. A friend of mine said his brother was moving to my city and needed a place. He's a brand new teacher and doesn't make great money, so he needed a place that wasn't expensive. I offered to let him rent my basement for way less than market rate, $650, which would include utilities. He accepted and signed a year-long lease. Well, a few days ago, he asked if he could start paying the landlord directly instead of giving me rent money each month. Interesting. I was under the impression my friend had told him I own the house. So I was confused and I told him we don't have a landlord and that I'm the owner. He got very upset and screamed at me for lying for over 6 months and taking advantage of him by making him pay so much in rent.
Hey, yo, what the
Right, okay, so he wanted to go and make some other deal with the landlord where he would pay less when he's already paying less. I mean, listen, you signed a year-long lease. If you couldn't pay that much, you shouldn't have lived there. He seemed pretty happy about that amount at the beginning. Nah, man, he's just trying to get you to rent it for him for cheaper. For the record, an apartment similar to the one in my house would be well over twice what he's paying me. Closer to 3 times for something as nice. He asked how much of my mortgage he's covering. I'm sorry, but that's none of his business. And I said, why does that matter? You're getting a nice, quiet place to live, access to a full kitchen and laundry room, and you're paying an amount you can afford. My personal finances aren't really a factor here. He stormed out of the room and slammed the basement door. He's still not speaking to me. Man, he's just throwing a temper tantrum because he wants to pay less. Don't give in. I asked a few other friends and some family members, and most said I'm wrong for having him cover my mortgage payments. Let me get something straight. You as a renter, if you rent, you are covering part of the mortgage payment, okay? That is the deal. Some people end up paying off their whole mortgage and then they use the place as an investment property. But guess what? When you pay rent, you're either helping the landlord pay off the mortgage or the property is an investment property that they are making money off of. Let's not live in a world where we expect to live in places for free. So only a few friends say I'm in the right. Am I the a-hole for having my roommate cover $650 of my $775 per month mortgage? I mean, no, because at the end of the day, you also paid down 60% of that mortgage with your own money. So yes, the mortgage is only $775 per month, but you also paid down a larger chunk of that mortgage than most people. Most people, I think they do like 50% or something like that. No, isn't it 50%? I feel like it's even less than that. When I bought my first place, I think I paid $50,000 to buy the house, and then the mortgage was like $300,000 or something like that. So by paying 60% of that mortgage down, you already paid for your rent up front. Some added context, he has a lease, so I won't be evicting him over this alone. If he does damage or become hostile, I'll look at the eviction process. I'm just glad that he lives in like a basement apartment and like you don't ever have to like cross paths with him. For now, he will remain unless he chooses to break the lease, which I'd allow him to do if he wants. He also didn't bother to read the lease before signing. The lease clearly states I'm the homeowner. Okay. I didn't trick him or keep info from him. He didn't read what he was signing. Oh wow, okay. I didn't get the house for almost free, as some people choose to believe. My father sold it to me for about 75% of its value, more or less as an advance on rent he and my stepmother will pay when they move in here in a few years. We already agreed they won't pay monthly rent, but will contribute to utilities and groceries at that time. I also made a 60% down payment, so I have quite a bit invested, as well as paying about $1,500 a month out of pocket for taxes, insurance, maintenance, utilities, etc. Your mortgage might only be $775 per month, but owning a property also comes with property taxes, utilities, all of these other things that, God, I hate property taxes, eh? It's like, wow, I have to pay to own something. To me, I don't see that you did anything wrong. And the people that are like mad that someone is covering part of your mortgage, like a large chunk, they don't understand how this shit works. You paid for your mortgage in advance to be able to have that low of a payment. OMG, are they freaking serious? What is it they think people do when they rent? They cover the landlord's mortgage payment. Thank you. It's not that difficult to understand. He has a pretty nice setup. The fact that he has a private space and he's acting like this is so unbelievably entitled. Like, you can't even rent a room in Toronto for $650 a month, let alone a private space. I asked a few other friends and most said I'm wrong. It seems kind of silly to expect that. Like, maybe your friends are also weird and entitled. Like, I don't understand how they could expect you to like take in just some like random person and like pay for their rent essentially. I think those are the friends the commenter was referring to when they said you need smarter friends. OP responds, my friends seem to like the idea of socialism and everything being fair in life. Fair to who though? I probably need to find some smarter friends. Oddly enough, his brother is one of the few on my side, along with my father, the stepmother, and my mother. You're already doing him a solid by him paying as much in rent as he's paying. You are not the a-hole at all. It is decided. This is